Yeah.
If there's not a 2-year-old pick and lock to get in on this camera and everything here in the next little bit, it'll be a disappointment.
All day today, my girls, my two older ones, they don't start school until Wednesday. And so they're like at home, and my wife and I are both working from home, and it's just total chaos because they're in and out and up and down. And it's like, hey, what are we having for lunch? I'm like, I don't know, like make a sandwich, figure it out. I know usually if there's a sandwich, dad made it, but right now you're just going to have to reverse engineer that thing and figure out what the hell I did. And so they've been guests on a lot of meetings that I've had, which is fun. I like the personality of it. They're quite nuts, and I approve of that. Here we go. Let me get this thing. We're officially out here. Let me make it public so y'all can give it a share and a like and a love. You can give it a love. Doing them heart things. And now it's official. We got Service Monster in the house. Welcome. Happy Thursday night, everybody. Usually we do this thing on Wednesday night, but we just couldn't hold off. We just couldn't wait. We got a super special episode. We got Zach and Jared in the house from Service Monster, our official new partners of the Home Service Happy Hour podcast. So freaking excited, you guys. I actually saw a post today from a friend of mine who I'm not going to like name names, but I'm going to say things that are going to identify what I'm talking about anyway. So I don't know why I'm holding back, but I'm just going to hold back because it feels like the respectful thing to do. But he was in a certain coaching program that's associated with some other software, and basically got like exited from the coaching program because he doesn't use that software. It was like the weirdest ultimatum. And that said software previously, before we agreed to do this, had tried to sponsor this podcast, and I kindly said, "Nah, dog, not having it, not here." And not that like I have bookkeeping clients that use other CRM softwares. There's no, and no offense, Zach and Jared, there's no like perfect CRM. There's different ones that have a different vibe, that look different, feel different to everybody. There's different ones that serve different purposes. So you got to figure out the one that's best for you. But here's my Service Monster story, you guys. I got a Service Monster story. So everybody grab your cocktails and your carpet squares and check this out. Back in 2020, this was like right before we knew that COVID was a thing. A buddy of mine that were competitors in the Minneapolis window cleaning pressure washing space. And we like buddies, but competitors. We would share stuff. If we had a lead that we couldn't get to, we'd collaborate. If we had supplies that they need, vice versa. And I had said, Andy, bookkeeping's taken off. What do you think about slamming forces together and you run the entirety of all the window cleaning, pressure washing, holiday light stuff that we do? That allows me to focus on nerdy bookkeeping stuff. And I was on Service Autopilot at the time. He was on House Call Pro at the time. And the one hard part about switching CRMs is there's no good way to be like, let me just take my data and smash it all over here, and bring my future schedule in right over here. And so we kind of realized no matter what we do, we're really starting from scratch. Even if we decided to go with Service Autopilot or House Call Pro, it didn't really matter. We were basically starting over no matter what we did. And that was a huge blessing in hindsight because we got to look at every CRM ever. And there's a lot of them. And it's overwhelming. And Andy did most of the research, so I can't take all the credit for choosing Service Monster. But after we looked at all of them, I mean, like for months, that's what you do in the winter when you're in Minneapolis because you don't go clean windows or pressure wash anything. You have like 3 months of like, let me just get so far into the weeds. And just everything, we just always kept coming back to Service Monster, There's a few things that and I still see all the CRMs. Like in my bookkeeping capacity, I deal with every single CRM out there. There's a few things at Service Monster that absolutely like tipped us over the edge and kind of make it so we just can't leave. You guys, like, it's too good. We can't leave. One thing, we run all of our businesses by capacity and demand. And I talk about this a lot on the show. Like, if you are in the home service space, you are living capacity and demand. That's what you do. What can you clean? How many clients do you have to clean that day? And we always look at it in terms of revenue. Like, we know our crew can go do $10,000 a day. We're going to fill up that day, and then we're going to route it later. And I don't know another CRM that can show you how much dollars are on a route for each dude or whatever routes you have set up, and total dollars on a day in an extended calendar format, so you can actually see what the hell you're going to go out and produce and who the hell is going to go produce it. And can we add another job to Brent's schedule, or can we add another job to this day? And Service Monster has by far the best layout for that of any CRM that I've ever seen. And I've been doing this for over a decade. And I can't, like, that is how you run your business. I don't know another way to run a home service business, and I don't know another way to see it other than by dollars of who's going out and doing what. And Service Monster has by far the best view for that. And we have 15 transit vans, which is not the most ever out there running around in a home service business, but that's a lot of routes. And I bet when we had Service Autopilot, we would spend at least an hour a day routing jobs. Just trying, and that was before we had 15 even. That was when we had like 6 or 7. And just trying to move things around and like looking at a map and where is this? And they have some routing stuff, but then you had to pay all these extra fees and stuff like that. And we looked at Service Monster and it was like, oh, it's a color wheel. And you just can put the purple jobs by the purple job. And then this one's green and this one's a little darker green. And then we can just like build a route based on that. And it was just so simple and so easy. And it took a pain in the ass task that we had to do every single day and just made it 5 minutes. I mean, like, oh, what color is it? What is there a note from the customer that they want to be in the morning? Okay, here's how we're going to do that one. And it's just drag and drop. And just like those 2 things alone, the ability to, we used to have a friggin' spreadsheet. We would take the info from our Service Autopilot, and I'm not dogging on Service Autopilot. We used it for a long time. We ran successful businesses, but we'd have to like take the revenue from that and type it into a spreadsheet and look at how much capacity we had each day. And so we had like a separate Google sheet where we managed capacity and demand, and then we'd have to go back to our CRM. And like, it seemed like great at the time. We're like, oh yeah, we got this under control. Check out our sweet spreadsheet. But anytime you have to take data and put it in a spreadsheet, like that's just a huge, like, well, here's a huge opportunity because we just had to take this thing and put in a spreadsheet. Last one, and then I'll stop my yapping. I'm just excited about Service Monster. Commission. I run a bookkeeping business. I look at P&Ls all day, every day. And there's one thing that I see over and over again. Actually, I don't see it as much anymore. But if I do see it, I know exactly what the problem is when people's labor rates are super high. And it tends to always be when they pay an hourly rate and they incentivize an employee to work longer hours and produce less. Like that's all that hourly does. And so I encourage a lot of our clients, it's not the right fit for everybody, but for like 99% of people, having some sort of percentage-based, performance-based pay system where dudes get the upside, where the employee wins and our customer, the business, wins at the same time. That like works every time. And from a nerdy finance perspective, it also locks in their cost of goods sold so they can repetitively go and earn the exact amount of money they need to earn so they can invest in cool stuff like Service Monster and other software and marketing and whatever else. And that ability to calculate that and make it easy to run payroll and give employees money and like on the app have like a little scorecard so the employees can like see what they're making. It just changes everything. All right, I'm super pumped. That's all why. Zach and Jared in the house. Thank you guys so much. Thanks for the partnership. Thanks for hanging out. I'm not done rambling about you guys. I'm going to do this every episode. So listeners, just buckle up because I love it. I want you guys to introduce yourselves. Nobody better to introduce yourselves than yourselves. Zach, I'm going to start with you because you're on the top of the screen. Give us a little background. How'd you get here? Why Service Monster? Why Home Service Happy Hour?
Yeah, no, thank you. Well, first off, super stoked to be here. When you hear about opportunities like this, it's very like we hear about all these type of different things, right? And then there's always those certain things that catch your eye, and getting to talk with, you, Dan, and, to your followers while, drinking a beer.
Having a cocktail. It's happy hour.
Can't beat it. So my name's Zach. I'm the head of sales over at Service Monster. I've been working with home service companies for about 5 years now from a SaaS capacity when we're talking about CRMs and things of that nature. I actually started off as a window washer, hanging Christmas lights. Those are my first couple of jobs. I think I hung Christmas lights for almost 8 years.
Oh, no shit.
In college. I got to the point where I was
You're an OG.
Dude,
you got out of holiday lights before most people even got into it.
Oh my goodness.
You were hanging incandescents, man.
I'm telling you. And still to this day, I'm a light hanger. Don't get me wrong. My girlfriend taps into the old talents that I used to have. And so do my parents. When they are setting their stuff up. And
I get that bites me in the ass all the time. I ran maid service businesses. Whenever somebody needs something cleaned, they're like, "Oh, you know how to clean," and I'm like, "Shit, you're right, I do." Damn it, like got me again.
Well, the thing with Christmas lights though is I actually did enjoy it. So it's like kind of doing the bigger projects and planning it all out. Doing like as a young kid, it was a ton of fun. It was a ton of fun. I did it for like 7-8 years. So did that through college, high school. I actually worked in the fitness industry for about 6 years. Then COVID happened, and the fitness industry was not the best place to be during COVID.
That was a weird space. A lot of home gym action. A lot of home gym.
Yeah.
Me and Sean T were hanging out a lot, doing some T25, jumping around in the
Beach body action.
That's right. That's right. And then I found out they had gals that were really good looking doing classes, and Sean T, like he got put in the box, and then we were watching one gal jump around that looked a little better on the screen.
Had the motivation on the screen. So
yep.
So I worked in the fitness industry for a little bit, and then obviously, like I said, COVID happened. So I left that industry, wanted to go back to a place where I felt comfortable. And I've been in sales for 12 years now. But what gets me excited about sales is selling something that is actually helpful, right? Like super important to me. That's what makes my job easy and fun, is delivering a product to someone who needs it, right? And that's what fitness was, and that's what I do now. And so I've been working in the SaaS space selling, CRMs, and for about 5 years worked with House Call Pro, loved working there, and then got the opportunity to work with Service Monster, and Service Monster to me embodies taking care of your customers. And I just couldn't say no. So that's how I ended up with Service Monster. Been with Service Monster about a year.
Sales is a funny thing to me because it's a thing we all need to do. And there's an underlying thing I have found that makes a really good salesperson. And I don't know your approach at all, Zach, but this is just my own reflection, is the less I try to sell something, the more I sell. And I made this mistake in my last bookkeeping business of like hiring a salesperson. And then I realized, I really need, and I call it a demo now, and maybe there's a better term for it, but sales is, and I assume Service Monster has a lot of this, is like people are coming to you. There's like a fruit fly in here. I'm gonna get him. I totally got him.
That's a good.
No. Then he got up. I knocked him down, and then he was just like, I'm still.
You got a flying Rocky Balboa over there.
God, I was so proud I forgot to kill him.
I'm waiting for you to break out the top sticks next time and just catch it.
Yes. But sales is so much, especially when we have something that's awesome that clients need. They come usually searching for us. And it's really like expectation setting. I don't know if there's a cool word for expectation setting, but I just always found I never actually have to sell anything. And I think that's probably why you love selling for Service Monsters. You don't have to sell anything. It's like, let me show you all the cool shit and just like set really good expectations so you kind of know how this goes. You're not like, hey, let me tell you why we're the best and why you're going to use us. It's like, you're already here. Like, let me just show you. I'm excited. I just want to show you around. And like you said, that makes sales way more fun when you're just like, I don't need to sell you anything. You're already here. Let me just show you why this is freaking cool.
Yep. Absolutely. Couldn't agree more, Dan.
Dig it. Jared, give us a little background, a little intro. What you got going on?
Sure, sounds good. Well, first off, thanks again for letting us come join you. This is a good time. I have to admit, I never once thought I would be showing up on somebody's podcast. So this is almost like a bucket list experience here right now.
There you go.
I will say I'm a little bit under the weather today, so apologize for the raspy voice and everything. But
way to tough it out. Appreciate you toughing it out. Absolutely.
We're here to put out, right? So, hey, so name is Jared. I'm the director of customer experience at Service Monster. I've spent over 10 years in software, really just helping customers find success with products and everything. So my teams help our customers find the value in the tool, find the things that are going to help them run their business the most efficiently. And what's really cool is that we get to do that from a point of just saying, look, we are 100% here to help you. right? There's nothing in it for me. We're just here to be able to drive that value and everything forward. Before software, I did HVAC and electrical installation for a couple of years. Bounced around a couple of different home service type companies, went door to door knocking, doing sales.
Everybody should have to go knock some doors.
Oh yeah.
That's the skill set.
It definitely teaches you something, right? Yeah. Did that in the 115-degree weather down in Mesa, Arizona one summer.
That'll toughen you up. That'll toughen you right up.
Absolutely.
What's the dry heat. Oh yeah, I was gonna say, is there a trick to like not just sweating through your shirt immediately?
Or you just do it? I never found it.
Yeah. You just wear a shirt that the sweat doesn't show as well, I suppose.
Yep. Our problem is that we had a guy who would come around, pick us up to go grab a drink or something for lunch or something like that. And he drove a black Audi with black leather seats. They would just be sitting out on the street all morning long. And he'd come in and he'd be driving. He's like, hey, I'm going to pick you up. And before he'd pick us up, he'd reach back and he'd flip on the seat warmers in the back seat. And then so when we jumped in, he's like, oh, sorry, guys. Yeah, it's so hot. Ha, ha, ha. Anyways.
I mean, it's kind of like if you fart and put the window lock on. That's it. Yeah, he was just playing that game. He was just out to get you.
Girlfriend or wife, yeah.
Totally out to get you.
Just hazing. So
yeah. I actually think, as you say, HVAC in AC, I mean, I feel like my kids we were talking earlier, Jared, my kids are 8 and 6 and 2. Your kids are 8 and 6 and 2. And when I was growing up, it was like you had to go to college. That was the expectation. I was supposed to, I did go to college, and then I did go get the corporate job that I was going to spend the rest of my life at. I had that job for like almost a decade, and I was moving up, doing what a good boy is supposed to do. And then eventually I was like, I think I just want to like go screw around and run some small businesses and have some fun. And before they pay you too much in the corporate world, I feel like everybody's got to go do some small business stuff. And I'm thinking about that for my kids now. I'm just like, man, if I could do it all over again, I think I would figure out how to do HVAC and AC, because it doesn't matter what the economy's doing. It doesn't matter what AI is doing. Like, I mean, there's going to be new tools and new equipment and new thermostats going in, but like we always going to be heating and cooling stuff. And that's just going to keep happening. And I don't see that industry going away anytime soon. And I don't see many people going into it. And there's a lot of money to be made.
Oh, if you live in a part of the country where it gets above 90 degrees in the summertime, when that AC unit goes out, you're making that phone call. You're not just saying like, yeah, it's cool. It's 98 degrees inside my house. I'm fine with that. I'm sleeping in that. No, you're making that phone call, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. Sorry, I cut you off. Carry on. I get excited. I get a little excited.
No, yeah, you're good. So yeah, I mean, my experience in software and everything has always been around kind of new customer success. So when we onboard customers, when we're reaching out to, kind of score them out on how they're utilizing the product and everything, looking for new ways to be able to get additional value out of the tool and everything like that. That's kind of been my history, is just finding those ways. How quickly can we get you to success? Right. So identifying those areas and things like that. But
we got another happy Service Monster client here.
Love it. Hey, there we go.
What's up? Been using Service Monster since the inception of our company. Have not even considered another option. Cole's a dumbass, but at least he got this right. Like, Cole's a buddy of mine.
Appreciate it, Cole.
Jeff Ford checking in. What is up, Jeff? Good on you. Thanks for checking in. Chris Jones was just on last night hanging out. But I teased him. I was like, man, tomorrow night, like, no offense, Chris, tomorrow night we got the big episode. We got the sponsorship launch episode. And then my boy Jared Chinowski checking in says, I don't know you, but I feel like we should. I feel like either if you're saying that, you maybe drank too much or you got hacked, Jared, JC. He's actually JC. He just he sold out to Facebook, so he got the blue thing next to his name, and they made him be Jared. So now he just sounds super nerdy. I think he should wear glasses. Every once in a while, he wears like super nerdy glasses to be a nerd. I think that's his Jared persona. So, I want to get into Service Monster a little bit and just some of the things you guys are working on and things that are in the pipeline and cool stuff coming out. But Joe Kowalski, I'll say founder, because that's what I think he is, but you guys tell me if I'm wrong. Joe was on my old podcast, I think 3 times. Every time he came on, he like refused to even talk about Service Monster because he like was always awkward of talking about the cool stuff about Service Monster. He didn't want to sound braggadocious, but he was so philosophical. You would just go on for hours going into just dark holes of whatever was going on in Joe's mind, which is great because that was bookkeeping, beer and BS, and we would just beer and BS. And so I don't know how much Joe is involved anymore, but I understand there's been a transition at Service Monster with Joe kind of stepping back. What's that been like? What's the new vibe like? And I know you guys have some other CRMs that you partner with that have different like pathways, if you will. Give us a little like the lay of the land of Service Monster. I'll say post Joe for lack of a better term.
Yeah. So Zach, you want me to take this one?
Go for it. Yeah.
All right. So actually last year, a business came in. So Teamfront is we call it our parent organization. Teamfront came in, purchased Service Monster, has jumped in here. We had that acquisition take place last year. So there've been a few changes around here and everything, but the amazing part about Teamfront and what they brought to the table for us is that we now have a backing of just kind of a large investment and everything to be able to come and invest in the development of the product, making sure we're getting the features that we've talked about for a long time, that customers have been asking for us or from us, that we're getting those out to the market. So that has been the number one change. Joe is, Joe's really no longer involved in Service Monster, but Teamfront has stepped in with a massive investment here. And so the teams right now we're kind of building this foundation, but we're improving everything and lifting everything up kind of along the way. They talk about how, a rising tide lifts all boats. Teamfront is that rising tide for us.
Yeah. And I'll add on there. I think shout out to Joe, because obviously a lot of people are interested in a product like this with what it does and how many people it does truly help. And he was very picky with people he wanted to partner with and have, come in and continue to excel what we have going on over here. And it's really been great. I think to be able to give Service Monster the push forward to get in front of more people, help more people, things of that nature. Just because, like I said earlier in the call, I want to sell a product that benefits people, right? And so being able to get this in front of more people, that was one of his big beliefs, and I know he's stoked about it.
One of the observations that I've had, and I had this observation without knowing what was happening. I use Service Monster on the back end now. Andy runs our day-to-day stuff. I really just get in there once a week, and I didn't mention this earlier. Your guys' reporting is by far the best of anybody's. Just the standard reports are the best in the way it can roll up by service type. There's so many that can't report revenue by service type. It drives me freaking bonkers. Yep. You have to download it in a spreadsheet. And even then, you need to know how to write a freaking VBA code to get the data parsed out the way you want. It's crazy. Yep. I usually go in and just grab the data so I can report it out to our team and the managers and make sure they know what they're doing. I have been a part. Well, hell, I mentioned the 2 CRMs we used earlier. Both of them have gone through acquisitions, and each time they did, the price went up and the service level went down. And that's just flat out. I was a part of it. I felt it. It was very obvious what was going on there. I didn't know Service Monster had gotten, I'll say, acquired or whatever word you want to use. But the only changes I saw were advantageous changes. The pricing didn't change. You guys changed your pricing model, but to a pricing model that makes sense for everybody, not a pricing model that breaks your bank. Mm-hmm. And this is one of those things where I'll say to you guys, but since I'm going to say it, don't do it to me, is you guys can charge more. You guys are still the most cost-effective CRM that's out there, by a landslide. I mean, I watch businesses half the size of ours with half the complexity of ours that pay 3 times as much for a worse CRM is what we pay Service Monster for our business with 15 trucks. It's crazy. But don't raise everybody else's price. Just don't raise our price. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. But when you guys did it, in Jared, to your point, like the emphasis was on the right stuff. It wasn't how can we cut costs and increase revenue. It was how can we add more value to these guys? Like what can we change? What needs to be tweaked? What are our customers saying that they want to see more or less of? And I could feel that, but I didn't know what was going on behind the scenes. I just had been a part of 2 other ones where I was like, this doesn't feel good. Like, I don't know what's happening, but like there was seriously a business we were running, had recurring services, and clients were disappearing from our schedule. Disappearing. We found out because the client of a maid service company would call and be like, hey, aren't you guys cleaning us today? And we'd be like, no, you're not on the schedule today. You're not on the schedule ever for the rest of time. And it just disappeared. And when we called the customer service, A, we couldn't get through. And then B, once we finally got through, they're like, oh, you just need to rebuild it. It's like, that's it. Like, there's no, oh, here's what happened and we're working on it. And then how do we know? You just want us to like download our schedule into a spreadsheet every day and then double check it every day to make sure nothing else disappeared? Like, what are we doing here? We're trying to run a recurring service business and we can't even trust the recurrences on the schedule. And your answer was, oh, just rebuild it. It's like, yeah, that's what we did with this one. How do we know what other ones were missing? And nothing. And it was, that went on for months. And that was it. That was all we got. It was just absolutely bonkers. And again, I've experienced it twice with other CRMs that I've used. I didn't like it. And then I experienced it with you guys, but I experienced the opposite. And I didn't even know what I was experiencing because I didn't know what was going on. But and the reason why I was like, I got to partner with Service Monster on this is because of things like that. You guys have your priorities right. You do it the right way. You put the customer first, and it shows. Like, it shows over and over and over and over again. So thank you. Cheers.
Cheers to that. And Dan, I want to call out kind of what you said there. I was dealing with Wi-Fi issues earlier today, and obviously I work from home. And the disruption I had in my normal day-to-day, like having to call, the Wi-Fi company, trying to get it resolved, those type of things. It was just ultra frustrating. And it's putting, an hour and a half of a gap in my day where I have a ton of work on my plate, right? Like, understanding that people are trusting the product to literally run their business. Like, it's one of the biggest honors that you could possibly have with your product. And to, like, I can speak for Jared, myself, and other leaders here. All of us have experience being out there in the field where something broke and you're just like, what the hell, And so that's what really got me excited about a year ago, coming here, is understanding just customer first, make sure they can do their job on our product. And that's why it was so awesome just to, hear that and not have people go through these drastic changes in the product and not be able to depend on it.
Yeah.
100%. So I don't want to go into too many details and everything, but because I don't want to be like that guy who's like, yeah, I'm just talking up Service Monster and everything, but we're kind of on the topic. One of our company values is to champion the customer, right? Like, we want to do, like, we're in it for our customers. I recently had an experience like, okay, I'm in customer experience. This is what I think about all day long, right? And how we can improve it, how we can continue on. But I recently had an experience where I had a fence company come out to install a new fence for my house. And, they did a really good job communicating at the beginning. And they said, like, hey, we know where you live. There's a lot of rocky soil. So there's a good chance that we're going to have to charge you more for hand digging these holes. And I was like, hey, makes total sense. Absolutely. Sign off on that. We're good to go. They came out, did a fantastic job on the installation, everything. And at the end, they said, awesome. Hey, we're going to send you your final invoice. And they sent me the invoice after they left. And it had the price without any increase. And I was like, heck yeah. I was so stoked on it. I was like, sweet. That's awesome. These guys did a great job. I'm stoked on it. More than 24 hours later. So like, I'm like immediately right back to them. Hey, awesome. How do I pay you? How do I pay you? How do I pay you? 24 hours later, they send an updated invoice that now included the charges. And I was like, oh, dang it.
Yeah.
Dang it. And it took this awesome experience that they had like done so well with for so long up until that final moment. And then it brought me down. And immediately it was just like, this is
Yes,
not
the last impression of the experience is just like like that's how we end this thing.
Yeah. So, I mean, we talk about communication and everything. And like, that's one of the things, we champion the customer at Service Monster, but it's all about communication. When you need help, right? If something does go wrong, we got to be the ones answering the phone the second that you call. All right. Mm-hmm. And we're going to make sure that we do that. I was on site with a customer earlier this week, and it was amazing to me that, so they're coming from a different product, won't say, but that they just talked about how like they can't get anyone on the phone.
Yeah.
No one's answering. And it blew my mind that that's how companies are operating today. It's like, no, we got to be able to answer the phone for you and help you out.
And I mean, we learned this a decade ago in our window cleaning business, and most of the home service industry has figured this out. There's still some outliers like that, but a decade ago, our differentiator was that we answered the phone. That was it. We crushed it. That was all we did. That was all we had to do. We answered the phone. There we go. Like, we're not great at cleaning windows. We're going to show up. We're going to leave some streaks, and we're going to get out of there, and you can pay us. But at least we answer the damn phone, and people will be like, that's pretty good. Like, you guys are really good. You answer.
Yeah. And on the flip side, if one bad experience could ruin any future experience coming forward. Like,
oh, yeah.
I think it was like my 22nd birthday. I had my phone stolen, and someone Venmo'd like $800 out of my account. And I was trying to like call Venmo, and they had no support line, nothing. I couldn't get a hold of anybody over Venmo. Haven't used it since that day. Like, it's just relationship burned.
Oh, yeah. That's frustrating. So you never got your $800 back?
Yeah. So Venmo, if you're tuning in, I'm still waiting for a call back.
Yeah.
For my money.
You can't sponsor this podcast, but you can give Zach his $800 back. Check this out. I meant to like talk about this. Check out the new digs. We got the best damn bar. Well, it's always opposite.
Oh, look at that.
Always inverted. So we got the best damn bar, brought to you by Service Monster. There's a QR code right down here that'll get you to a sweet landing page. If you want to check out Service Monster, scan this QR code. It's also down there. It's way down there in the other corner. There's the same QR code. You can scan that one. Brought to you by Service Monster.
I'm scanning this thing right now.
Check it out. We got a sweet landing page. And I saw Joel jumped in. Joel Santos is our designer. Damn, dude. That dude can whip up. Like, I'm not cool, but if there's anybody that makes me look kind of cool, it's Joel. He just does cool stuff. I wish I had, like, I'm such a finance nerd. I can't do stuff like this. I don't know how to do
Those are the type of people you need on your team. Yeah.
Right? Like, that dude is just a stud. He just makes it look super cool. I don't get it. I don't know how he does it. I was writing down while you guys were talking. It was like triggering thoughts. So I didn't have any notes. I told you we're just gonna talk and I'm gonna ask questions. But now I got like 6 bullet points of things I want to hit you with. So let's. I just crossed one off. One of them was, I got to remember to mention Joel in these sweet logos. Joel always crushes it. What are the primary industries that you guys end up working with? Like, who's your total bread and butter? Crush it for every day, and like Cole, once they sign up, and like me, once they're on Service Monster, they ain't going nowhere. Who's in the sweet spot for you guys?
Yeah. So carpet cleaning, window washing, exterior cleaning, interior cleaning. A lot of companies who are doing a lot of the repeat business. So it'll probably lead into a different bullet point of yours, but something that we do very well in comparison to a lot of the other platforms out there is tapping into retention, repeat customers, maintaining that book of business. And obviously those industries are very big on that. So those are going to be the ones that majority of our customers come from.
Heck yeah. Do you, Zach, you mentioned you still get roped into hanging some holiday lights.
Oh yeah.
I mean, and JC was checking in earlier. That dude's freaking wearing like Christmas light blazers around all over the place. Are you guys seeing that boom in holiday lights too, where it's like people sign up for Service Monster and all they do is 2 months worth of holiday light hanging, and then I don't know what they do for the other 10 months of the year. but they're out there.
Yeah. So like we've actually have rolled specific plans out for like October, November for people, like a 3-month buy the membership, a little bit discounted. So you just use it for 3 months and you're good to go. And then you come back next year, all your information's still there. So you can still go look what you did last year, compare. Yeah, right in October, November
Dude, it's so funny. It's just, I mean, it's like, it's doing what microbreweries did 5 to 10 years ago, where it's like, how could there be any more people making beer? Yet 3 more just opened this week, and now I got to go try them all because I got to go see if they have beer that tastes like beer, and most of them do. What are some industries that you don't maybe think you're a good fit for, or just like even a different way of asking that is like, what are some oddball ones that you do have where you're like, I didn't even know this was a thing that somebody could be doing, but here we are helping them run their business. Any goofball ones like that?
It feels like there's always something that comes through, right? I think, what did we have recently? We had one that came through that was a Christmas tree farm.
Oh, weird.
Yeah. Thought that was an interesting one.
And believe it or not, like I would say probably like 4 or 5% of our customer base is like dog poop scooping.
Oh yeah.
Like,
yeah, that's starting to be a thing. It's starting to be a real thing.
It's big. Yeah, I mean, when you're thinking about,
I want to make a poop joke, but you guys can all imagine that it'd be a shitty joke. So,
hey,
yeah, did you see it? It was like another level deep. Yeah.
If you guys didn't know, Dan is a dad, by the way.
So three times makes it worse.
Yeah, I think like when you're talking about, a lot of your HVAC, plumbing, electrical, like we have those customers. But I mean, to be completely transparent and honest, like there's tools out there that's better for those specific businesses. And I think that's one of the big things that we've done at Service Monster is we know our product, know our customer. So we are all in on our specific customer.
Yeah. Is it at the point, because I run into this with bookkeeping too, where it's like at some point, for me, it turns into like accrual accounting because they have an inventory thing or something like that. And once they're carrying inventory, I'm kind of out. Like, I don't want to then I'm like, yeah, I can help train your local person and teach them how to do what we do, but I ain't coming to your shop to count your inventory. There's probably somebody local that is a better fit for you, but watch my podcast and learn what I know. But you don't need to hire me to do the books. Is it kind of that sort of thing where it's like you got too many supplies of material, some installed, some whatever, and you're doing weird markup things and now, or like, what's the kicker?
Yeah, there's a little bit of that. I think like the big kicker is going to be like the estimating side, the proposal side. Like we've just have partnered with other companies. Like Responsibid is one of our partners.
Shout out Kurt Kempton, nicest guy on the planet. I don't know that there's a nicer guy on the planet. No offense to you guys, you seem great.
Oh, no.
But I think Kurt's the nicest guy on the planet.
Like if you said I was nicer than Kurt, I'd call you a liar. He's just that great of a guy. Yeah. So like we have estimating software, but when you're talking about very detailed proposals with your HVAC plumbing companies and, even some contractors, I'm just going to tell somebody like, hey, before you buy us, go check out Responsibid. If you want to combine 2 products together, I'm not going to turn down your money, but there is definitely products out there that, knock it all out.
Heck yeah. Well, I mean, and frankly, even if somebody's got Responsibid and Service Monster, you guys, again, before you raise your prices, because I told you to, you guys are so cost effective that Responsibid and Service Monster combined are still significantly more cost effective than some of the other CRMs out there. And again, I like, to me, have a better product too. It's just crazy to me what some people are charging for shit. But I think that like we do that in our business. We have Responsibid and we have Service Monster. I don't know that we have you guys linked together, but I'm also totally out of the day to day. So who knows what the hell we do. But like, I think there's just so many good tools and good softwares out there. And I do see people like not using them to their full potential, maybe myself included. What do you guys see in that regard where if you could just like take a business owner and be like, listen, you dummy, Like, there's some things you could do that would make this 10 times easier for you. Like, what are the stupid things that you see that people are doing where you're like, oh, if I could just come to your business for a week and like click a couple buttons for you, I would save you 50 hours a year on this shit. But you're doing stupid stuff. I gotta imagine you guys see all sorts of silly things.
Yeah. The biggest one, and I speak about this probably every day, is how to maximize your retention rates. Like, if I asked, like, I've gone to a couple of conferences and you know, things of that nature. I've asked people, like, what's your retention rate? And 90% of the people are like, I have no clue.
Yeah.
No idea.
It's
and I'm like,
number. I know it's a number.
Yeah, it's like, it's almost mind blowing. And, you know, don't get me wrong. Like, I'm a sales guy. Like, I'm in charge of new business. I pass it on to Jared, and Jared's in charge of keeping them. But Jared's job is probably more important than mine when you're thinking about building a long-term successful business. Like, people will hit year 7, year 8 and see, like, from year 2 to year 7, see like 20 to 25% growth. And in those first 2 years, they saw a ton of growth, but that long period of time, because they're not consistently tapping in and nurturing their customer base, it is detrimental. It's huge.
And you mentioned
running a business, right? You got to understand your CAC, right? Your customer acquisition cost. So we know that across the board, it's cheaper to retain a customer than it is to acquire a new one, right? So when you're talking about customer retention, is just what are the tools and what are the options for you inside of Service Monster to be able to help you do that? One of the things that we have is a service called Fill My Schedule. Now, this is really unique. I've never worked at another CRM company that had this, but Fill My Schedule is a print marketing solution where we can send out to your customers, whether it's thank you cards for the services that you just accomplished, or whether it's, a 6 month, a 12 month, an 18 month kind of reminder of like, hey, it's time to come get your carpets cleaned again, or time to get your windows washed again, whatever that may be. That's a print marketing solution that goes out to help retain those customers and get that repeat business. And that's something that, you talk about Service Monster, very unique to us as a value point that we bring to the table for you.
Yeah. And to add on to that, we're almost like in a reverse of the timeline right now, because 10 years ago, everyone went email and digital, like anybody that was trying to contact everybody. And the only thing we get now is our credit card bills and our electric bills in the mail. And then now you start at like our FMS program is bigger than it's ever been, because people, fun fact, love to get letters that aren't bills. And so
nobody reads their emails anymore.
Exactly.
Yeah, 100%.
Email.
Nobody looks at their emails anymore. It's nuts.
So,
myself included. So if you emailed me and you meant to reach me, sorry. Maybe
I read your email for about an hour and a half ago. So
I just wait for Gmail to pop up that like, do you want to unsubscribe from this button? And I say yes every single time. Get out.
Please. Yes, please.
So it's been more impactful now than recent years, just because, like I said, it's like all people are getting is like, I couldn't tell you the last time I got a letter.
Do you guys do any? I know like we can message our clients through Service Monster. Is there a way to text them through there? I know like there's weird legalities and stuff around that. I don't know all the ins and outs of it. Angela Schroeder in the house. Angela's always on a radio show. Big shout out to his VAs. Thanks for checking in, Angela. Do you guys play that text game, or do you just kind of stay out of it because of all the goofiness in there nowadays?
So little inside scoop. SMS texting is coming.
Oh, hey, we're front running because one of my things was cool things coming. Now I wrote that down with a bullet point. I was like, cool things coming. Ask them about that. You're front running me.
One of our most asked about features. And we saw people asking, like, cool, let's go explore this, and we're gonna do it. And so
I wonder. It makes me wonder, just like emails used to be like all the thing, and now we're just like, I just don't do emails much anymore. Is there a world where text messages turn into that, and we're like, oh, it's got to be a video message that shows up on my, because everybody's got these sunglasses or things with cameras in them. Like it's got to. I don't read text, bruh. Like you gotta play. You gotta. If you know me, you're gonna hit the button so I can watch it. I don't know what.
Dan, I think you're right. Honestly, I mean, at some point down the road, we're not there yet, right? Like text messages get opened up at like a 95% rate.
Oh yeah,
something like that, right?
Okay,
So
quick-
we're not there yet, but yeah, I feel like it's got to happen some point down the road, 10, 20 years, whatever it may be. There's going to be something that comes in and takes over text messages.
we're all gonna have chips. It's gonna be like, chip me, bro.
Yeah.
Be like, text me, bro. Be like, chip me. Just send me an ESP
Something new.
chip. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Question for both of you then regarding this, and I've seen this like on Instagram and stuff. How many unread text messages do you have right now?
Zero.
I'm
Zero
one of
unless
those
somebody.
guys.
Zero. Hold on. Holy shit! I have 6. It's my wife and my aunt and my mom. They're planning what we're drinking this weekend. My aunt wanted to know if there was vodka there or if she needed to bring vodka. Hold on.
Zach, you got to remember, you're talking to a couple of dads with kids.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Social life outside. I mean, won't speak for Dan, but
Oh, my parents are at a bar. That's what's going. Surprise. The Platas are out at a bar. And we were gonna head back tonight, so they were wondering when we were gonna get there, and I was like, "Oh, sorry, I forgot to tell you, I'm hanging out with the Service Monster boys tonight." So have one for me, ma. What the hell was your question, Zach? I totally got
I was
distracted.
asking about unread text messages.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And then Seth Goldberg, who I saw you checked in earlier, he was watching a little bit. I don't know. He sent me a text that said "make it 7." I don't even know what it means.
Make it 7.
Make it 7. Maybe he thought I was drinking a 6-pack and he thought I could use one more.
Dan, he was telling you to make it 7 unread text messages.
Make it 7. You think so?
It's 6.
Make it 7. Oh, I bet he meant for me to reply up yours. You guys remember those old 7-Up commercials where it was like, make it 7, up yours on the back. Or I guess it was make 7, up yours. You don't remember that, Zach?
I don't.
Gosh.
I'm not
Yeah.
a dad yet.
Those were you're too young for that one. That was a classic. That was a classic.
that had to have been around the same time as like the Pepsi Coke like drink test debate thing.
Oh yeah.
Remember them doing that?
Yeah. There was some heated. It was kind of like the East-West rap battle back in the day. You know, you had P. Diddy versus Snoop Dogg. Then you had the Coke versus Pepsi and Sprite versus 7-Up. Real intense
Right.
turf wars like that.
Man, my brother, so he had a buddy that made a good amount of money just doing these T-shirts. He would go to these college football rivalry games.
Oh yeah.
And this is super simple premise where it'd be like, hey, for Washington State, right? Like, go Cougs, Huskies suck, which I would be the opposite of that, by the way. Go Huskies, Cougs suck, right? And I apologize to my sister-in-law who went to Washington State, just saying,
But she sucks. So
but anyways, yeah, like simple T-shirt design like that, made a good little coin from it.
Oh heck yeah. Seth did check in. He said, haha, let's go with that. I don't know what we're going with, Seth. I don't know what make it 7 even meant. But why don't you enlighten us? For now, I'm going with the make 7 up your shirt. So you got SMS messaging coming. What other cool things you got in the pipeline? Anything else cool in the works?
Absolutely. Trying to think how much
that you can say without having
here.
to kill us. Yeah, can you do it without having to kill us?
Absolutely. So we'll see. I mean, I might get fired for it, but that's all right. You know, want to give the inside scoop here and everything. So some of the things that we've been working on lately is going with an integrated payment solution that's above and beyond what exists today.
Yeah.
You know, so I won't spill all the beans here and everything, but to anybody who's out there who's going out on site, taking payments with a device attached to your phone or something like that, get rid of that device. You don't need it anymore.
Those charges get outrageous. Here we go. Seth, this is why Seth texted me. I almost said sex tested me. Sounds cool too. But Seth texted me, make it 7 is because he said, easy for me to say. I thought I heard you say you had 6. And that's why he said make it 7, because he texted me that. And then he did a good job and said, but up yours, platypus. So good on you, Seth. I appreciate that. Yeah, I got it. I finally understood. Thanks for a while. Hey, I'm just a freaking bookkeeper. If you would have said it in a spreadsheet, Seth, I would have been all over it. I just read spreadsheets, dude. Yeah, the being able to take credit cards efficiently, that whole space. I've had merchant processors on before. Not a one of them, no offense to them, not a one of them has been able to explain to me the entire process of merchant processing from front to when the money is in my bank account. They all waffle around it. I don't think they even understand it. There's like 7 different people that need to touch your freaking money from when the credit card gets swiped to when it gets into your bank account. And there's like little fees all along the way. And I'm pretty sure nobody actually knows. Maybe one person out there knows. I don't think anybody else knows.
Yeah, it is an elusive answer.
It's a shell game. It's a shell game.
Well, most companies, they'll just partner with a merchant, right?
Yeah.
Make it easy, plug and play, boom, good to go, right? Which on the counterpart there increases fees because I need my part, Dan, you need your part, Jared, you need your part.
Of course.
Right. So I think what an integrated, in-house type solution is like, how do we take Jared out? How do we take myself out?
Yeah, we're taking you out, Jared. You out.
How do we limit them?
Yeah.
Which totally makes sense too. It never made sense to me that there had to be so many players in that game to begin with, because it just seemed like this person had to swipe it, that person had to initiate it, that person had to hold your money, Visa had to give you some points, the bank had to do something, and then they had to give it to your bank, but the bank can't work with the bank. There had to be a clearinghouse in between, because the bank can't possibly work with the bank, so then there's a bank in between the banks. I don't know, I'm just saying stuff, but it was always it's always been so confusing to me.
Yeah, no one wants to own the liability of it.
No, and I'm a numbers guy, I'm a finance guy. Like, this is a world I live in, and I'm like, it feels a lot like paying taxes to me. Every time I do my taxes, I'm like, I'm a pretty freaking smart dude. I live in finance and numbers, and this is confusing to me. Mm-hmm. How do normal people do this? Like, why did we make it this way? Why isn't it just so simple? We literally, and not trying to say, hey, government, change everything, because my business is kind of benefited by the complexity. I think finance still needs to happen. Like, business owners still need their data. But the whole CPA industry and that whole tax industry, I'm like, it's just made up out of complexity and thin air.
Yep. And if you get it wrong, we won't tell you why you got it wrong, but you're in trouble.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, you're screwed. You're screwed. Yeah. We're coming to get you. You're going to jail. It's so goofy. I already asked you this, but I want to ask you again, partially because I want to answer it too. What are the goofiest customers you have? And I'll give you a second to think about other goofy ones you've had. One that surprised me for bookkeeping, I had a realtor reach out to me and was like, hey, I heard you're, nerdy bookkeeper dude. Can you do this stuff? And I was like, you know what? I can figure it out. It's just another service business, right? We dug in. We did this guy's books. I could not believe when I got his numbers all together. He basically was running a cleaning company. He basically has the exact same financials as any one of our industries: carpet cleaning, window cleaning, pressure washing. If you broke down his profit and loss, you had to take the price of the house out of it, but he never really got the $500,000 from selling a $500,000 house. He would get, his whatever, $30,000 from his commissions on it. And then you took that 30 and ran it through his business model. It was like, oh, damn, dude. Like, you're the amount you spend to execute and the fees to execute it, and then the amount you spend on admin and marketing, you'll get that client, and then the infrastructure between your software and the office that you rent, and then going traveling, and then meals and entertainment. Like, his business model was exactly the same. And I was like, oh, damn, like, a service business is a service business. There's some with some different ups and downs. And if you're HVAC or plumbing, you're installing stuff, and so you can margin up on some of those things. But a realtor is running the exact same business as the rest of us. And it just blew my mind The only difference was his average ticket was $500,000 and my average ticket is $500. But other than that, we're running the same business. And it was just so goofy to the point where I was like, man, maybe we should just be like doing books for realtors. Like we just scoop this up. Except I don't know that I feel like doing books for an industry that just does this all the time.
Yeah.
It'd be just feast and famine all the time. So didn't pursue it. But that one like blew my mind how dialed in we were for somebody where I was like, yeah, I can help you out. I don't know if we'll be any good, but I'll help you out. Have you guys run into something like that where poop or scooping or whatever else where somebody Christmas trees and you're like, oh, damn, yeah, like turns out we can totally crush it for you.
Yeah. So I've had a traveling tattoo artist. Yeah. And, you know, I and he bought and he used the platform. Granted, he only used it for a couple months, ended up leaving. Jared, close your ears. But what I've noticed is most
earmuffs, you guys got to do that. You get earmuffs.
Yeah, exactly.
You're about to, yeah.
Exactly. A lot of these people who are going to people's homes, like, it works. It works. Is it the perfect fit for everybody? No. But like in reality, like if you're a traveling tattoo artist, for instance, like scheduling, communication, invoicing, collecting payments, data, right? And that was a unique one for me.
Did you at least get a free tattoo or anything?
No.
Do you have any tattoos?
I have a lot.
Do you really?
I do have a lot.
Are they cool?
Some of them.
I have no tattoos. I have no tattoos. I saw Keith Urban in concert, and I didn't like Keith Urban, but he has a lot of tattoos, and he just wails. That dude can freaking just like he kind of he's like I live in Minnesota, and so everybody here just has like half wood for freaking Prince, and it kind of drives me nuts. I'm like, yeah, I mean, like he was super talented, but I don't really like any of his music. But when you actually like see him just grab a guitar and go, or when you would see him grab a guitar and go, it's like that dude could freaking play. And I kind of feel like that with Keith Urban. Like I didn't really like his music, but I saw him live and I was like, holy shit, this guy is legit. And he looks way tougher than I thought he would be.
Yeah, and that's a great call out because I think I was actually in the car with Jared, not like probably a couple months ago, and Jared called out, it doesn't matter what it is that you're doing. If you're great at it, I can tell. And we can admire it, right? Dude, you could be a great like cornhole player. And don't get me wrong, that's pretty badass in my opinion. I love cornhole.
Yeah.
But like,
I'm not all into cornhole, but if I saw it, I would know it.
Yeah, exactly. And I remember that Jared had brought that up in a car ride we had out in Utah. So.
Oh yeah, very much. Like I don't play the piano, but if I see somebody playing that, like who's really, really good. I used to have my best friend growing up. His mom was an incredible pianist. And she told me this story one time about how when she was in college, she studied this and her professor sat her down and was like, hey, play this. And so she starts playing, right? And he goes, no, do it again. And she's like, what? Like, what did I do? Okay. And so she does it again. And then finally goes, stop. And he closes the book and he goes, read the title of the book. And she's like, it was something to the effect of like something songs for your left hand. And she was like, wait a second, this is one hand only. I can't be playing with this too. And so he opens it back up and she's like, now play it again. Right. But the degree that people can get to with their skills. So yeah, exactly what Zach is saying is like when you see somebody who's in their element, who's doing just a world-class like level of this, right? Like Keith Urban was doing Waylon, right? Or Prince, that you got to respect it.
Yeah. And then if they have some tattoos, you're like, man, maybe I should have some tattoos and I would be really good at something. Maybe that's what it takes. I can be that cool.
That's all you need.
Mm-hmm. From personal experience, don't rush into it.
Okay. What's your coolest tattoo? Which one's your favorite?
Probably my chest with a big owl on it. Nothing behind it. Just thought it looked cool.
Is it like killing a mouse or is it just hanging up on a tree, like looking all the way back over its shoulder?
No, I'd be like looking directly at you right now.
Just staring at you.
What's your worst tattoo?
This one. This is from a first date, actually. Yeah. There is, if she's tuned in, but there is a lady out there who has the same tattoo on her hand. Haven't talked to her since, but we're bonded for life.
It was the first date and the last date also.
Yeah. So
That was
logo of the restaurant we went to.
That was how it ended. Was the tattoo?
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of cool though. There's
it's a cool story.
Yeah, that's all life is about. Is cool stories. That's what it's all about. I don't have a cool tattoo story.
Well, Dan, we'll make a trip out there.
All right, call up your traveling tattoo buddy. Have a couple beers, and we're gonna get matching tattoos.
Tune into next week's home service happy hour. Dan's getting tattooed.
We're doing matching tattoos from the traveling tattoo guy. What? So I got two other questions before we jump off of here.
Mm-hmm.
When you guys are getting new clients, there's a thing I see. I've only seen the opposite of this once, and then it didn't even end up being that. When somebody doesn't have a CRM, put it down, Zach. Put that baby down. When somebody doesn't have a CRM, and then they get a CRM, out of thousands of businesses that I've worked with, I've only ever once seen somebody go back to not having a CRM. Just once. Like whether it's Service Monster or any other CRM, which I just think says the world about how far CRMs have come, is if you're out there and you don't have one, dude, what are you doing?
Dan, I'm so glad you brought this point up because, dude, if you don't use like one of the platforms, us, one of our competitors, whatever the case might be, you are playing basketball with blindfolded, right? Like that's where my mind is. And so typically when I'm talking to customers and someone's coming from a pen and paper process or just dumping everything in a spreadsheet, I'm like, dude, this product's going to help you. I don't care if you don't use us, use something. If we're not the best fit for you, fine. By all means, go find a tool that's going to fit your business because it's a necessity at this point, is having some type of tool, CRM, to help you manage the boring stuff and the tough stuff.
Heck yeah.
Yeah, it really is.
It's just so much more efficient.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I used to work in the automotive space too. And, you get so many auto dealers that were coming off of just Rolodex systems. They just had their note cards with everything written down and everything. And the minute that they got it into a CRM, right, it absolutely changed the game for them. Because it's like, I mean, you can get real technical and everything and start going into just, accessing databases and everything. And just the concept of being able to have your data accessible to be able to manipulate and use to your benefit and everything. And that's what a CRM allows you to do, right? Is if I can go in and say, all right, I want to send out some correspondence to all of my customers that have, that did business with me 11 months ago, right? Say we got an annual one-time service or something like that. How do I go easily grab all of those customers and send them out a correspondence that says, hey, it's that time again. Give me a call. Let's get you booked, right? That's what a CRM allows you to do, right? Mm-hmm. Or at least a good one.
Yeah.
And it's go ahead, Zach.
Well, what I was going to say is what I see a lot of the times is so many people just come from the bare necessities, right? Of just, I need something to schedule. I need something to send invoices, right? And, that's pretty much all of our bread and butter, right? Is being able to do that. Yeah. But if you use a platform over 3 years, the amount that you'll learn and the amount that you'll implement, oh my goodness, you're not just going to be saving the countless amount of hours on scheduling, dispatching, and invoicing. Like you'll get to a point where you're become a master of the product and you just start creating new ways to just generate revenue in your business, to maintain current customers. Like there's so many things that you'll start tapping into, and it's endless on what you can do with these tools. And it's a tool. Get creative with the tool, right? Like I have so many different users who use our tool in so many different ways. And like I take them, I'm like, hey, you should do this too. Like this is what this person's doing. You should try.
I heard this works really good for this.
Yeah. Exactly. So even if like you're just getting your foot in the door, like obviously the task of hopping onto a CRM is pretty daunting. Especially
big time.
Yeah, especially when I'm guilty of it. Like I'll show someone the product and I'm like, dude, I'm so excited about this product. I want to show you 15 different things, and they're like, holy shit, like this is too much, like this is probably
Where's the carbon copy?
Exactly.
How do I get a carbon copy from here?
Exactly. And I'm like, it's okay. And I have to take a step back. I'm like, hey, if you just use it for scheduling, invoicing, and payments right away, you will learn this. You'll start implementing all these other tools over the next year, 2 years. You're not only be saving time, you're going to become the master of the product and start using it in different ways.
When you get on a demo with somebody, are you like, hey, real quick, score your technology adeptness on a scale of like 0 to 100? Are you like running your business on paper right now? Or are you a $5 million company coming from a different CRM and just like looking around? Like what? Because I imagine your conversation, Zach, is very dictated by like, okay, like let me just hold your hand a little bit and show you like how you enter a new client versus like, oh, like you'll just click around and figure out how to enter a new client. Let me show you some of this cool scheduling and reporting stuff. Like you're going to want like 8 layers deep or you're going to be bored to death. How do you like gauge that on a demo call?
Yeah. And that's a good question. So like in all my calls, like obviously I'm going into them. What I like to do when I'm hopping onto a call with a customer is typically I'm not showing the product to like 15, 20 minutes in. Like, how am I going to show you something if I don't know what you're doing, how you're doing it, what you need? Right. Because obviously majority of the people are coming to us. So it's like obviously something prompted that, something finally just crossed the line. You're like, I need to make the change. Right. And so I spent 10, 15 minutes kind of talking with them just about their business. Obviously, old sales tactics, build rapport, be friendly, enjoy the conversation. But at the same time, just learning, right? Just understanding where they're coming from, what they need, what's the biggest pain that you're trying to solve. Right. And also what that does for me is like, if I can't solve that pain, okay, I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm gonna tell you, I'll show you this, but hey, we're not gonna be able to solve that big problem for you. Here's what I suggest you go try and do. But yeah, that first 10, 15 minutes is just spent talking to them, understanding what they're looking for, what they're struggling with, what they're trying to do, and what they've done in the past.
When you have somebody that's coming to you from a different CRM, what is it that they tend to be lacking elsewhere that they end up finding at Service Monster? Like, what do you find to be those attributes that are the sticky spots where like somebody does a demo with you and is like, yeah, I'm coming. Like, I didn't have this. What is that? What are those key things?
Yeah. So there's a couple things that really stick out to me. The first one, I'm going to continue to highlight this, is data retention, understanding that retention is important and not having the tools to tap into that or using some side product for retention, right? Because there will be a lot of people who use different products for mailing, texting, whatever the case might be, stay in contact with their customers. So they might come to us looking for that all-in-one. So we do try to promote that a lot. 2 is going to be products that aren't vertical specific, right? Like nothing against the House Call Pros, the jobbers, those, what they want to do is they want to be okay with everybody. Like we want everybody to use us. And don't get me wrong, both fantastic, great products. But once you start using a platform, as I was saying, for 3-4 years, you start understanding like, hey, these are specific things that me as a carpet cleaner, window washer, Christmas light hanger is going to need. I can't get this from these platforms. Come to us. We're going to be able to be specific towards that. And that's one of the biggest changes we've made in the last year is we've understood that the customers that are coming to us and use us are in these industries. Cool. Why change? Let's just focus on those industries. That makes up 75% of our customers. Let's go focus on them. And so you'll see a lot of vertical specific people changing. And then data. People start cranking on data. I'm a data nerd as well. And
where
so
it's all at. It's all about the numbers.
Exactly. Like, and coming and seeing what we have on the reporting side, it's like there is not much we're missing. And if you told us something,
like it's night and day. And like I said, I see every other CRM, and really all I get from all the CRMs is the reporting stuff. Like that's the world I live in as a bookkeeping nerd. Is I'm like, hey, give me access, add me, give me your login, whatever it is. I got to go in and get your data out of there. And there's certain ones where it's like I can get data to help them run the business. And there's certain ones where I just can't even. And it's like, I don't know what the whole point. I mean, scheduling and routing and invoicing, but now what? Like, what are we going to do with this? We got decisions to be made. We got to know how much gutter cleaning we did versus window cleaning versus holiday lights versus pressure washing or whatever it is.
Exactly. Database decisions, dude. I want
to flip this around. And Jared, I think this is like not as fun of a question, but I think this one goes to you. If you guys are going to lose a client, we talked about it earlier. You lost the traveling tattoo artist. Lost them. Not every product, not every system is right for everybody. What are the things where you think like somebody would leave because Service Monster doesn't focus on it and it's not the right fit for them? And you guys might even be like, you know what? Hey, we know this other thing exists. Why don't you go try that one?
Yeah, no, great question. I mean, honestly, I think it just ties right back to what Zach was saying about kind of the niche vertical, right? Is we know kind of who our core customers are. And if you're coming in outside of that, that typically is what it boils down to in most cases, is that it's somebody who's doing some of this, this other type of business kind of out on the fringe of home services, something pretty specific that requires a piece to run their business that we just don't technically have because it's not our core, So that's honestly probably the majority of the customers that decide to move on.
Yeah.
Naturally.
Which makes sense, right? Like,
go ahead.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
No, it makes sense. Like that's, they need something that's specific to their business of how the type of business that they're running and operating and everything. And they need those solutions. And, if we're not built for it, we're not built for it. So.
Yeah. One of, I got two like thoughts and then one closing question here. Back to the, when somebody's like signing up for a CRM that hasn't had a CRM before, every once in a while I get somebody that is interested in getting bookkeeping going. And on my list of questions, Zach, to exactly what you said, like my first like half an hour is just nerding out on their business, partially because if they're waffling about a CRM, I want to be like, have you looked at Service Monster? If they're waffling about payroll, we use Gusto. I like Gusto the best. There's just certain things where I'm like, okay, I have exposure to all these things. I have the weirdest lens. I work with hundreds of businesses and I get to see what works the best and who supports you the best. So like, let me bring that to you. If I can add some value as a nerdy bookkeeper that has nothing to do with bookkeeping, like total win. And every once in a while I get somebody that are like, what's a CRM? And I'm like, stop. We're done talking about bookkeeping. You don't need bookkeeping. This is you will, but you have so much shit to do before you get to me. Like right now you need to worry about running your business better. I'll be able to report it to you and tell you what's working, what's not working. But right now I can tell you one thing that's for sure not working is you are not efficient in how you run your business. And that should be your priority. And so I'll get that probably 1 out of 50, maybe 1 out of 100, but I will like stop the bookkeeping conversation. I'll still like show them what we do, but I'll say, hey, like come back to me in 6 months or a year once you've got a CRM figured out and you're running your day-to-day more efficiently and you're using that, you've got employees going on, then come and get some bookkeeping. Mm-hmm. But like first get this thing efficient and start making some money. I'll help you once you got money to make. But like if you're running this thing on paper and just scrambling around and your head's up your ass, there's no point in hiring me because the first thing I'm going to tell you is you're super inefficient. You should get a CRM, but I don't even need to do your books to tell you that. You just told me you don't have a CRM. So let me just tell you before you hire me to go do that first. And it's like, it's one of those things where you're like, man, I hate having to like deflect someone and I don't want to like offend them. Right. But I don't want to mislead them. I don't want to sell them some shit when it's not the right shit. I want to sell them the right shit. And the right shit is Service Monster or, whatever CRM catches their eye best or whatever it is. I know there's a ton of them out there. But that one just always cracks me up. It just always catches me by surprise. And somebody's like, what's a CRM? And I'm like, what's a rock? Like, where have you been hiding? How did you get to me without knowing what a CRM is? Like, how did you find out about me in the world of the interwebs? You got to me before you found out what a CRM was. Like, what are the chances of that? It's crazy. All right, I got one more thing for you, and this is just because my insurance guy always hounds me about this cybersecurity, and he's always like, "What things are you using, and what's your server thing, and then who does this, and then what do they do, and what's their documentation on this?" And I'm just like, I don't know, dude. I do bookkeeping, and insurance makes bookkeeping seem like a freaking luau.
Yeah.
Like insurance is the worst. Bookkeeping's boring. Insurance sucks. All right. But he's always up my ass about cybersecurity and cyber insurance. Obviously, like you guys you are holding, Zach, you said it earlier, like you are the linchpin of most of our businesses. If my CRM got shut down in our window cleaning business, pressure washing business, I wouldn't know where to go tomorrow. We would have to shut down. We would not be able to operate, right? We don't know what's on the schedule besides what's in our Service Monster. How do you guys deal with that? Do you partner with a cybersecurity insurance company at all? Is this like I hear horror stories. I haven't heard any horror stories about in our industry, but my insurance guy loves to tell me horror stories to get me to buy insurance probably. But you guys are like in this space. What do you see? What do you run into? What's the threat? What's the risk? What should us dummies be doing to make sure our shit doesn't get hacked and we don't end up getting locked out of our Service Monster account?
Yeah. Good question. So this is a
terrible question. I hate it. It's boring. It's lame. It's insurance. It's stupid.
It gets asked more often than you think, though. Dan.
Oh, I bet.
Yeah.
Everybody has an insurance guy, and everybody's like, "Is my insurance guy trying to sell me some shit?" And then they come to you next.
Exactly.
Well, you're talking to the two guys who probably are like least qualified, or at least maybe myself. I'm least qualified to probably answer the question on it. But I will say that having this additional investment that's come in recently and everything has helped us improve on our security measures. There's been a lot of talk around this from our product and development team and everything there's compliances out there. So like SOC 2 compliance, Vanta security. I don't see, these are words that I don't exactly know all the details behind and what they mean, but they're things. They're things.
Confidently, like I go duck hunting every once in a while, and there's one thing I know about duck hunting. I don't know any of the ducks. I know a couple of them, but like when they're way up there, if you just say it confidently, everybody else is like, "Oh yeah, Nobody knows. You just got to be like, "Oh, it's this," and everybody be like, "Oh yeah, it's definitely that."
That's it.
Yeah, I think though what we will say and what I typically tell people when I first meet them is, I've been in business for 20 years. We've never had any type of data breach. We've never had a situation where customers' data was compromised, and that's the answer we give them. Because to Jared's point, neither Jared or I know the full details behind it all, but we do know that we haven't had any issues.
We used to do when I worked in the corporate world, we worked in the food industry, and so like food safety, right, and just any recalls or anything else like that. And so we'd get that question all the time, which is like, how can you guarantee we won't have a recall? We won't, like McDonald's was a client. McDonald's can't have a recall, right? We see that happen, and like Chipotle had it happen, and holy shit, right? Like just Chipotle was like for like a year. And so that was like a main concern of ours, is like, we got to get that right, but you can't guarantee it. The future is out there. But to your point, Zach, what we would always have to point to is like, here's our competitors, here's all the issues they've had, and here's our blank slate. And so we can't promise you that it'll never happen, that there's no way it could possibly happen. Like we were dealing with raw foods. And so we're going to take every precaution necessary, and we'll document all of our system, and the proof is in the pudding. And so here's our track record. That's all we can stand on. Here's the track record. But it is a goofy space. I always just like that info security space is just so weird in the evolution of the world. Somebody gets your phone and jacks $8 from your damn Venmo account.
Exactly.
You're like, I don't know what I could have done differently besides just not left my phone where I left it, but shit's going to happen.
Yeah. And I will say, I get asked a bunch when people are coming from the pen and paper world, and they've been doing pen and paper for 10, 15 years. And then they're like, okay, I've been doing it this way. I know I need a better way, but this is one of my biggest concerns.
Oh yeah.
And you got to emphasize with that because, it's 10, 15 years worth of work that they've done the same way on pen and paper, which, they fully control. They haven't trusted anybody with that information before. And then they're deciding to trust us, So I do understand it is a foreign space and it's not super fun to talk about, but to some of these, individuals you get to talk to, it's one of the most important things. So
yeah, whether you're coming from whether you're coming from pen and paper or you're switching softwares or whatever, it's a mind shift, right? Like different softwares are going to call different things, and just the terminology behind it, where you're clicking, etc. You're changing a process, whether it's you're writing it down or you're putting it into a system. It's a change of process. So it's a mind shift on how you're running your business and what step A is versus step Z, etc.
Yeah. No, it's a weird world. All right. So I'm going to tell my insurance guy that I use Service Monster, so I'm fine. Don't worry about it, dude. On my bookkeeping business, on the other hand, I have no freaking idea. I have no idea. Multi-factor authentication. I do use it. I'm on it. We're good. All right. Closing question, dudes. One of you is going to have to answer this one first. Since I started with Zach earlier, Jared, you're going to answer this one first, which actually gives no. Because Zach's actually going to have to answer this one first, which gives Jared more time to think about it. But this is the closing question that every once in a while I remember to ask.
Okay.
So here's the stage. I'm going to set it. CRMs don't exist. They're not a thing. Money's kind of not an object, but you need to do something to earn some money. So it's got to be like work related, value related, but the world's your oyster. Tomorrow, what would you be out doing if CRM Service Monster didn't exist and you could just choose any career path you wanted right now? What you going to go do?
Okay. If I could choose anything, like no skill, like I wouldn't have to worry about not having the skill. I would have the skill if I chose this.
I mean, you tell me, you just make it up, just like it's a duck flying in the sky that you're just confident that you know what it is. This is your answer. You can make it whatever the hell you want, Zach. It's your answer.
I would love to go swing golf clubs every single day. If it was teaching people, playing professional golf, whatever the case might be, I'd love to do that.
I'm just picturing Happy Gilmore. I heard they're making another one.
They are. And my swing's not too different. And the result's very different, but my swing's not too different when you.
I didn't know I could just go for it in one. Why didn't I just hit it in the hole every time?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Something's
all
off.
right. Well, after we get our tattoos, we'll get out for a round of golf.
I'm in.
All right.
There we go.
Jared, that bought you like a minute to think of a super cool answer. What?
Well,
the world's your oyster. But
I mean, I'll answer it honestly and say that it would go into custom cabinetry.
No shit.
I've done a little bit for myself.
Yeah.
I've done a couple of projects for friends and neighbors and stuff like that throughout the years. But yeah, custom cabinetry. Go work with my hands.
I was gonna say I like the that's the perfect blend of like badass blue collar and art all wrapped into one. Like you're working with your hands, you're a tough guy, and you're like, I think taxidermy falls into this world for me too. Is I'm just like, man, these guys are just like dead animals, and I'm gonna make it look really beautiful, and it's gonna be just like this. And then I've watched some videos on how they do it, and I'm just like, this is some of the craziest art I've ever seen. And these dudes are like walking around in overalls and like chewing tobacco and drinking a beer at the same time, and just like so delicate. I'm just like, that's just badass. I love the
real Chuck Testa vibes, right?
Yeah,
you ever see that?
Full spectrum. It's the full spectrum. They got it all covered. There's like no leaf unturned. So maybe that's what
about you, Dan? Have you answered the question before?
Maybe I'm gonna be in taxidermy. Yeah. Like after I just got inspired, I spend. I mean, like if I'm not here talking to you guys, I'm out hunting. I mean, it's dark right now. Maybe I'd be out coyote hunting, I guess. Like I'm out chasing critters, filling the freezer. I love to cook, so there would probably be like a cooking thing, maybe. but I could truly see like taxidermy being a thing for me. The downside, I've had Ernie and Greg on from Tethered, which is a big time like hunting saddle company for bow hunters, primarily for bow hunters, but like hanging off the side of a tree instead of sitting in a tree stand, you're literally like roped in. I have one. They're super cool dudes. They've been on the show before. I got to get him back. I texted Ernie and we didn't set a date, but I got to get him back on this fall. But they made a really good point the last time they were on here, which is they sell equipment. And so it doesn't conflict with their ability to hunt. Like if you work in retail and you are in outdoorsy stuff, you're kind of screwed because during prime time season, you're busy. And so you don't actually get to hunt. And I think that'd be the worst part about taxidermy is like, or if you were a guide, like I love taking people hunting and fishing, but I like to choose who I take. And I'd rather have them not pay me because then I don't have the obligation. I just get to pick and choose who I take. I love taking new people out. But if my career obligated me to do that instead of be out doing the way I wanted to do it, I think that would like keep me out of taxidermy. But Ernie and Greg had it figured out. They're like, no, we're busy all summer. Like we got to produce all this stuff and manufacture all this stuff. And like all the decisions are made like in the winter for that spring to produce for that summer to have ready for the fall. And by the fall, we're just out hunting. Like there's nothing left to be done. We just got to see what happens at that point. And I'm just like, that's kind of brilliant. You guys got it figured out. You get to work in the hunting industry and then you get to hunt the whole time. So
that's awesome.
That is clever.
They got something figured out. Well, Zach, Jared, thanks so much for hanging out. I appreciate the hell out of you guys coming on. I appreciate the hell out of Service Monster. You guys, if you've never checked it out, I'm going to totally screw this up.
You got it.
Our podcast brought to you by Service Monster. There's a QR code right down here, but my name's kind of in the way of it. So maybe go to that one down there, all the way down there. Keep going. Scan it. Go check them out, you guys. If you got a CRM, check theirs out. If you don't have a CRM, holy shit, go check theirs out. Why don't you have a CRM? What are you doing? Anyway, Zach and Jared, thanks, guys. This is super fun. I appreciate you guys hanging out, kicking this off with me, and excited for the partnership.
Absolutely. Thank you, Dan. This has been a blast.
Yeah, appreciate you, Dan. Thanks so much for bringing us on.
Yeah, it always is. It always, anytime. And by all means, like anytime you guys have something cool, this is where we do it. This is where we do cool stuff. So let me know when we got something cool. We're going to do it. Business nerds, you guys know what to do. Work smarter and harder. Go earn yourself some pride. Good night.
Good night, y'all.
See you.